Are They Now? Quarantine Edition. I'm Carol Scott, Executive Director, Waldhorst Children's Theater. And with me this morning is the amazing, beautiful, talented Monica Ricketts. Hi, Monica.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm great. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. It's so good to see you.
So good to see you too. It's been so long.
I know. It's way too long. Way too long. But we get to do this even though we're quarantined. We get to do this. So this is the good part of the quarantine.
Yes.
So where are you quarantined, and is that where you usually live? A lot of people are different places right now.
Yes. Well, I'm still in LA, technically North Hollywood. That's where I'm living. But believe it or not, I had to move last week. So I was quarantined in my other place in West Hollywood, but I had agreed to move in here like 3 months ago. So before all of the chaos happened. So literally I'm in my brand new room surrounded by boxes, and I built my own bed frame yesterday. And so like, I've had a project, but it's just been crazy because I haven't been going out. Like I've just been getting everything ordered and delivered here. So I don't know, like the timing is crazy, but I'm here. So.
Well, that's great. It gives you time to unpack and do your house the way you want. So that's amazing. So you're living in LA.
I am.
And how long have you been in LA?
Well, I've been here for 7 years, but I lived in Japan in 2017 for a year. So technically 6 years, but it's been great. I love it out here. I have so many stories to tell. It's just been a really great adventure.
That's awesome. Well, we're talking about Waldhorst today, and I want to get to all the things you've been doing. This could be like a double episode because I know you have been doing so much in LA and other places. But let's start with Waldhorst. Do you remember how old you were and what your first show was?
All right, so my very first show was Charlotte's Web when it was at the Children's Museum. And I'm getting like emotional, what the heck? I played Charlotte, and it was such an amazing experience because my little sister Melody was Wilbur. So we got to have like this really amazing dynamic. And I just remember, wow, I haven't thought about this in a long time. I asked my mom for pictures from the production, so I've been like reminiscing about this specific role and everything, but it really challenged me. I love Charlotte. She was such an amazing role because, she's so wise and gentle, but confident at the same time. And like meeting you was so incredible. And I was just happy to be a part of the kind of the beginning of Wildhorse. It wasn't that was the first show as Wildhorse.
That was our first show as Waldhorst. Yes, when we got back from Canada. What other shows did you do with Waldhorst?
I did Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe as a unicorn, and I helped out backstage for Once Upon a Mattress.
Oh, okay.
So that was a really cool challenge because I'm not usually on that side of things. So I remember I had to lift a really big bird cage, was it?
Yes.
Something really heavy. And I remember like feeling really strong. I was like, yes.
That's great. So you left Carson and went off to Los Angeles. Can you tell us what you were doing for the past 7 years? I don't know if you could sum it all up. I know you're a performer, an actor, a singer. You do so much. So can you clue some of our new members on what you're doing?
Yeah, well, 10 years ago, I auditioned for Disney Cruise Line, and that was my very first venture into the professional world. So it was right out of high school. I went to LA and auditioned, and I got the job as a main stage performer and singer, and I got to portray characters that I love, and it was just incredible. So that was my first like adult job. Like it was so incredible, and I traveled the world. I went to Alaska, and I really got so much training through that experience because everyone I worked with, like some people went to Juilliard, people were like really talented and professional. So I just learned from them, and I was like, okay, I'm 19, I'm a baby, but I'm ready to go. So it was incredible. And then after that, I came back to Nevada for a little while, And then I went to San Diego to do some children's theater out there at North Coast Rep, which was really cool. And then I moved out to LA after that. And wow, I mean, just to like kind of summarize, the biggest accomplishment in my career was working, or I can't even talk about it, I get so excited. It was last summer. I did a production of Into the Woods at the Hollywood Bowl.
We all know that. We watched you, we watched everything and all the people you were with. I wish I could have been down there to see it. I mean, it looked spectacular.
It was the best experience of my life, like working with Sutton Foster and Sierra Boggess and Patina Miller, these Tony Award winning actors. And it was like a masterclass. I felt like I would just like watch on the sidelines. It was similar to like Disney Cruise Line, where I was like, I'm learning so much from these artists. Like, it was amazing. And then hearing the roar of the audience. I mean, it's one of the biggest venues in the world.
Yeah. What else are you doing?
Well, I just closed a production of Ragtime as Evelyn Nesbitt, who is the girl on the swing. And that experience was amazing because this was a company I've literally avoided for 7 years because I thought to myself, I'll never get cast by them. Musical Theater West is what they're called. They're like the highest tier out here, like equity theater, very, very renowned, and they're wonderful people. And so for this specific show, it was only my second time auditioning for them in like my 7 years. Like, that shows how nervous I was. And I went in and I just thought to myself, like, this is just going to be fun. This is going to be a positive experience. I'm not going to put the pressure on myself, but I'm going to just put my heart into this. And I went in and I did my audition, and the director, it was so cool. He like pulled away, and he's done this show 22 times, this director. Like, he knows the show backwards and front. And he looks at me and he goes, "Can you do that again?" And I'm like, yes, thank you. Because when I first did it, I was so tense and I was so like nervous and uncertain of how I was portraying. Like, I was just so shaky. And so I literally shook my hands like this, and I was like, okay, yes, thank you, thank you. And I was like, I just need to shake it out. He's like, oh, yes, you do. So I did the song again, and he looks at me and he goes, I'm so glad we asked you to do that a second time. Like, you totally nailed it. Like, thank you for taking direction. And it was so exciting for me because, like, I never thought I would have gotten a call back from them. And then I got a call back. I know, and they gave me a second chance. Like, that's not common. That's not common at all. Like, I felt so grateful to them. And then I went in for the callback. He worked with me for like 20 minutes at this callback, just the two of us. And I was the last person to audition because they worked around my schedule because I was in another show. And as the last person of the night, he worked with me for 20 minutes, and he was giving me notes, and he was like helping me. And I ended up getting a phone call from my agent saying, you're the girl on the swing. And I was just beside myself. Like,
so did you go in for the girl on the swing, or did you go in for any role?
They had called me in for specifically for the girl on the swing, for Evelyn.
Right. Well,
yes.
What an amazing experience, and one of my favorite shows.
Yes, me too. It was such an amazing piece to work on, and like, you know, the state of our time and everything. There's just so many lessons to learn from it, and I had to overcome so many fears in that show. I went 6 feet in the air on a swing with it, probably. I mean, it was so scary. There was nothing holding me like in the back, so I had to just hold myself up there. And I'm terrified of heights, but I didn't let them know. Like, I never spoke up about my fear. And I was like, yes, I got this. And like, it just taught me so much about being brave. And
so you are an actor who has gone to LA. I've talked to other people who have gone to New York. So why did you go to LA?
My plan was to move out to LA to pursue theater because I wasn't ready to go to New York and go to those open calls without an equity card, because I've heard stories about, you know, showing up at 4 a.m. for open calls as a non-union performer and how exhausting that was. So I thought, hey, maybe I'll come out to LA and work at some equity houses out here to get my equity card eventually so that I can get appointments and have a better shot at being seen at these big auditions in New York. So yeah, it worked out really well. I now have my EMC card, which is the Equity Membership Candidate Program. And I just got it a couple months ago
You have really worked
ragtime.
You have really worked in LA, which is great. I mean, I know you've put a lot of effort into it and you really go out for all those calls. I mean, besides being talented, you really go for it since it's your passion. I know also, besides just going to calls and doing shows and working your regular full-time job, you also have training. You don't just stop training because you move somewhere. So can you tell our young actors what you're doing in LA in training?
Yes, of course. So I love improv. That's one of my favorite things to do. I love musical improv. I love regular improv. So I decided to audition to get into the Groundling School, which is where a lot of Saturday Night Live actors start. And that's kind of their pride and joy. That's what they really train for sketch comedy. And so I auditioned to take class there, and I got accepted into the beginner level, which is kind of unheard of. Most people have to go to 1 or 2, which are the first 2 levels, and then you get into beginning. So I felt really lucky to go right to beginning. And through those classes, like I really had to get out of my comfort zone because they work you really hard and it's all character driven, which I love. So it's helped me in so many ways. I had an audition shortly after I started taking class there for a commercial. And one of the audition exercises was one that we did in class, which is improvising a poem. So I had to improvise a poem for this audition. And I just went into, my class mode, and it really helped to have that training. And I ended up getting the commercial, which was awesome. It was my first national commercial for Krylon Paint. Then I also auditioned for Grinchmas, which is the How the Grinch Stole Christmas event at Universal Studios. And I created a character in class who was like this super snooty historian lady. And through gesture, which is like an exercise you use in acting exercises, I found this character and I just did this over and over. And then she appeared. I'm like, oh, there she is. And I used that for Martha Mayhuvier in Grinch. So I ended up getting that part as well because of my class and my training. So that was really helpful.
And you're still doing voice lessons and other training. Are you dancing?
Yes. Dancing, yes. So that's my biggest challenge. Thankfully, the roles I play are usually like very actor or singer heavy, but I actually had, I got a call back for Mamma Mia at McCoy Rigby, and this was 2 weeks ago. So it was it was right before all the crazy stuff started happening. So Sophie doesn't really need to dance that much, thankfully. So the roles I get called in for, I can definitely pick up choreography and I can move really strongly. But after all of this, chaos dies down in our world, I'm going to really get serious about dancing so that I don't feel insecure at auditions. It's just important to have those skills. Mm-hmm.
Do you have a dream role that, you've done so many spectacular roles already, but do you have a dream role that you are know you're going to do one day?
Yes. Oh my gosh. Glinda in Wicked. I've always loved her. And I got to audition for the Broadway production of Wicked. And I got 3 callbacks for it. And I'm telling you, like, my very first audition, I left the room. And I've never felt that joy before. Even thinking like, oh, I probably didn't get a callback. It didn't matter to me. I just thought to myself, I'm lucky to have this audition. Like, I'm lucky to be considered. I feel blessed. I'm grateful. Like, I just felt so overjoyed. And then I got the call back and I'm like, oh, that's a cherry on top. And it was so fun. And I went and I trained with an acting coach and a voice teacher the day before. And I was like, I have to feel like prepared. I have to feel like I've got this. And I went into the audition feeling really prepared for it. And I did the scene and I did the song. I sang Popular. Afterward, the casting director was like, okay, I can tell you put a lot of work and a lot of preparation into this. Forget all that. And I'm like, forget all that. And she's like, you're enough just the way you are. Just looking at me, you are far more interesting. She's like, I just want to get to know you. And she goes, you've got it. You've got it. So as an actor, I mean, at least for me, I feel like I tend to put on a layer of something to make it pop. Especially characters like Glinda. I thought, oh, I need to like add the character voice, like the Kristen Chenoweth thing, you know, like I felt like I had to put on a lot more than I actually did. So it gave me like, I mean, I had to be more vulnerable, which was scary, but it was so worth it because after I took the direction, she looked at me, she's like, there you are, there's Glinda. She goes, come back tomorrow for the dance. And I just thought to myself, wow, like I am literally in front of a Broadway casting director and she's telling me I'm enough. Like, that's not something that you hear very often. And like, I feel like for so many years, I felt like pursuing this career would, I mean, of course it has its ups and downs, but something to really take away is a director wants you to do well. Like, they don't want to see you fail or fall on your face. They want you to fit the role that they're looking for. Like, that's their job. They're just trying to, you know, cast a show. So when you walk in with that mentality of like, oh, like I might have exactly what they're looking for. Like, how cool is that? Instead of thinking, oh, I could never get this part, like I'm not good enough. It's the self-talk. And it's so helpful to know that.
And that is a great lesson for our young actors. You know, when they come in front of us at the stage when they're young, we want them to be amazing. We want them to show us everything. So we give them the part and we have a great show. That's what casting's all about. And that's a wonderful lesson from the ground up. So since that is your dream role, and I would love to hear you sing.
Okay, so I'm going to sing For Good from Wicked. All right, let's get this started. I've heard it that people come into our lives for a reason, bringing something we must learn, and we are who help us most to grow if we listen, and we help them in return. Well, I don't know if I believe that's true, but I know I'm who I am today because I knew you. Like a comet pulled from orbit as it passes the sun, like a stream that meets a boulder halfway through the wall. Who can say if I've been changed for the better? But because I knew you, I have been changed for good.
Oh, that was so beautiful. I know we're going to see you do that on a Broadway stage one day, and we will all be there to cheer you on as Glinda. I know it. As sure as I know my name, I know you're going to be on that stage, Monica, one day.
Oh, Carol, that means
and I
the
think
world.
that is a beautiful place to end this interview because so much information for our young actors and what you can be doing and all the opportunities that you've had and made for yourself, really going for your passion and stuff. So that's a beautiful song to leave this interview today. So Monica
Yeah.
Ricketts, everybody remember that name? Monica Ricketts? We will see you on the big screen or the big stage on Broadway one day. And meanwhile,
Thank you, Carol.
say hi to the family. We miss the whole family. And stay
We miss
safe.
you too.
Stay healthy out there in LA, okay?
All right, and you too.
Love you.
Bye, Carol.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.